Welcome everyone who's present this evening. On behalf of the board and Superintendent Flint, we appreciate your presence and your involvement in our school district. Our regularly scheduled board meetings are a time for the Board of Education, the superintendent, and selected staff to conduct important business of the district within a transparent and public format. To ensure our meeting goes smoothly, professionally, and efficiently, we ask that everyone maintain an appropriate level of decorum at all times. Please abstain from any conduct that would be disruptive or disrespectful. We ask our students and families and those who've joined us this evening to celebrate special recognitions and/or recommendations to remain until all acknowledgments and board comments have been made. Thereafter, we'll take a short break and allow you to leave following that portion of the meeting if you so desire. At this time, please silence your cell phones or other communication devices. Thank you in advance for that. Again, thank you all for being here this evening. Tonight, for our invocation, I would like to call upon BAPS Mandir Senior Priest Dharmesh Patel to lead the invocation. Mr. Patel, if you'll come up to the...
Good evening, everyone, and Jai Swaminarayan. Again, I'm Kavyesh Trivedi, so I'm just introducing. We are representing the BAPS Mandir at Fury's Ferry Road in Evans, Georgia. BAPS is a leading socio-spiritual organization. It's a global organization rooted in the teachings of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. Bhagwan in Sanskrit means God, or the all-knowing, all-powerful deity that leads you to living a purposeful life. And Bhagwan is manifest to the spiritual lineage of BAPS gurus. Currently, Mahant Swami Maharaj, who has captured all his ageless wisdom in the sacred shlokas of Satsang Diksha literature, which our priest, Sri Dharmesh Bhai, would be reciting in Sanskrit, and my son, Shlok Trivedi, who is a senior at Lakeside High School, will be translating it in English. And we hope that these messages of peace and love kind of fill the assembly, and all of us are guided by this timeless wisdom. With that, I kindly request Ramesh Bhai to come forward and lead us into prayer.
Swami Narayana Sakshat Akshara Purushottama Sarvebhya Paramam Shantim Anandam Sukham Arpayet Harihi Om Dhyoho Shanti Antariksha Gu Shanti Prithvi Shanti Rapah Shanti Rokha Dhayah Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Visve Devah Shantir Brahma Shanti Sarvangum Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi Om Shanti 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 Susantir Bhavatu Sarvarishta Shantir Bhavatu.
This Vedic hymn essentially means we pray for peace everywhere, in nature, in the sky, on earth, in the water, and within every soul. May peace fill the universe. We also pray that God protects us, guides us, nourishes us, and gives us strength to work together and grow in harmony and understanding.
Sarvatreva vivarsantu sada divya krupasisah Paramatma Parabrahma Swami Narayana Prabhu. This
means, may the divine compassionate blessings of Bhagwan Swaminarayan always shower everywhere.
Sarvesam sarva dukkhani tapat prayamupadravah kalesastatha vinashyeri jnanam sansayabhayam.
May all grief, the three types of miseries, calamities, distresses, ignorance, doubts, and fears of all be destroyed.
Bhagavad Krupaya Sarve Swasthyam Niramayam Sukham Prapnuvantu Param Shantim Kalyanam Paramam Tatha.
Through God's grace, may all attain good health, happiness, utmost peace, and ultimate liberation.
न कश्चित् कस्यचित् कुर्यात् द्रोहं द्वेषं तथा जनः सेवान्तमादरं सर्वे सर्वदैव परं.
May no one harm or hate others. May everyone always respect each other.
प्रशान्तर्जायतां युक्तो मनुष्यै धर्मशालिभिः संसारः साधनाशीलैर् अध्यात्ममार्गसंस्थितैः.
May the world be filled with people who are peaceful, righteous, and engrossed in spiritual endeavors, and who tread the path of spiritual endeavors.
ऐक्यं मितः सुहृद्भावो मैत्री कारुण्यमेव च सहनशीलता स्नेहः सर्वजनेषु वर्धिताम्.
May mutual unity, friendship, compassion, tolerance, and love flourish amongst all people.
Thank you very much. Jai Swaminarayan.
Thank you for having us. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Next at this time, for our Pledge of Allegiance, we have our Grovetown High School JROTC here to lead us. If you will come forward so I can introduce you. Oh, actually, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you, and then I'll allow you to start your, from leading the pledge is Adriana Graham, and then we also have Noah Brown, Alex Colon, Wyatt Reed, and Tyler Warner.
Colors, attention! Happy colors! Hope, heart, heart! Heart, heart, heart! Heart, heart, heart! Color, hope! Read, color!
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, color! Heart, heart, heart! Heart, heart, heart! Color, heart!
Excellent. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, seeing none. The agenda is approved. Let me turn this meeting over to Dr. Flint for special recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to a lot of celebrations this evening, and I'm going to start with our special recommendations. And these are people who are moving into leadership positions, and we're excited that they're joining our leadership ranks. And I'll start with our candidate for North Harlem Elementary principal. If I could call Melissa Culpepper forward. Congratulations, Ms. Culpepper. In typical fashion, I'll tell you a little bit about each of these individuals, and then the board will take action. So let's start. Ms. Culpepper holds a Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education from the University of Georgia, a Master's of Science in Foundation of Education from Troy State University, an Educational Specialist in Educational Leadership from Augusta State University. Ms. Culpepper began teaching at Grovetown Elementary School in 1999 as a 3rd and 4th grade teacher. In 2001, she transferred to Uchee Creek Elementary, where she taught kindergarten, 3rd, and 4th grades. In 2012, Ms. Culpepper was the gifted education teacher, where she served Bel Air, Uchee Creek, and Grovetown Elementary Schools. In 2013, she became the assistant principal at Uchee Creek, a position she held for 3 years before being promoted to principal at Brookwood Elementary in 2016, where she served for 8 years. In 2024, Ms. Culpepper accepted a position for the Richmond County School System as their Assistant Director of Teaching and Learning, where she currently serves. Ms. Culpepper completed the Georgia Association of Educational Leaders Aspiring Principal course in 2015 and has served as the Georgia Association of Elementary School Principals District 3 President and as an adjunct professor at Augusta University. I'd also like to share who's joining her this evening. If y'all can stand so we can celebrate you too. Joining her this evening is her husband Brian, her children Gracie and Baden, and her in-laws Bobby and Linda Culpepper. Thank you all for being here this evening. So board members, we're pretty excited. Ms. Culpepper is looking to come back. So I present to you at this time our candidate for principal in North Harlem Elementary, Ms. Melissa Culpepper.
I'm happy to accept the superintendent's recommendation. Ms. Culpepper?
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve that recommendation.
Second over here. Got a motion and a second. I'm not going to grill you with a lot of questions, but
Well, I have one. Have you talked to your mother-in-law there into volunteering at school?
Yes.
That's a requirement.
We were messaging today. She's ready.
Good.
well, great family. We welcome you back to Columbia County. Missed you. Glad you're back. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Welcome back to the team.
This time I'd like to call forward our candidate for North Harlem Elementary Assistant Principal, Ms. Amanda Anderson. You come forward. Ms. Anderson holds a Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education from Georgia Southern University, a master's degree in Early Childhood Education from Valdosta State University. She began her career in education as a classroom teacher at West Chatham Elementary in Savannah, Georgia in 2007. Later in 2007, Ms. Anderson accepted a position at Cedar Ridge Elementary, where she served for 12 years as a reading interventionist, a literacy coach, an MTSS coach, and a grade level chair. In 2019, she transferred to Clearwater Elementary in Aiken County to be the coordinator and coach of the MTSS school-wide process, where she worked for 4 years. Ms. Anderson returned to Columbia County in 2003 to serve as an EIP teacher at Grovetown Elementary. This past school year, she accepted the instructional specialist position at North Harlem Elementary, where she's been instrumental with school improvement and teacher development. Ms. Anderson also completed the Aspiring Leaders Academy in 2024. And joining Ms. Anderson this evening, if y'all can stand, her husband Chris, her children Grace and Griffin, her parents Joe and Paula Green, and her sister and brother-in-law Allison and Chad Couch. Thank you all so much for being here. Board members, I present to you our candidate for North Harlem Elementary, Assistant Principal Ms. Amanda Anderson.
Once again, Mr. Chairman, I make the nomination that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Ms. Anderson?
I'll accept that as a motion. Do I have a second? Okay. Wonderful. Ms. Anderson, I just learned that you were Commissioner Couch's sister, but I didn't realize y'all were twins. Are you twins?
We're not twins.
Yeah.
I'm the younger sister.
Y'all look very much alike. If, Commissioner Couch, if you ever need to skip out on a commission meeting, just ask Assistant Principal Anderson to sit in for you. I don't think anyone will ever know. Yeah, trade places. I don't know. We don't want to lose you too much, but.
The question is she going to volunteer with you?
Well, seeing no objections, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Look forward to the great work that you and Ms. Culpepper will will do at North Orland Elementary.
I'd like to call forward our candidate for Columbia Middle School Assistant Principal, Ms. Shannon Cohen. Ms. Cohen holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Early Childhood Education from Augusta State University, a Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction with an additional degree in Educational Specialist in Elementary Education, both from Georgia Southern University. And she also holds certifications in Curriculum and Instruction and Gifted, as well as an ESOL endorsement. She began her teaching career at Paul Knox Middle School in June of 2012 as a 6th grade math teacher. She transferred to Bayvale Elementary School the following year and taught a variety of subjects and grade levels for 6 years. Throughout this time, she served as a department chair in science for 3 years and in math for 2 years. Ms. Cohen was the Teacher of the Year at Bayvale Elementary in 2018. She accepted a teaching position at Greenbrier Elementary School in 2021, where she taught math and science and later became their instructional specialist, where she served for the past 2 years. She also completed the Columbia County School District Aspiring Leaders Academy. Joining this evening, if y'all could stand, her husband, Larry, her daughter, Brooklyn, her grandparents, Emma and Joe Williams, and her in-laws, Larry and Joyce Cohen. Thank y'all for joining us today. Board members, I present to you our candidate for Columbia Middle School Assistant Principal, Ms. Shannon Cohen.
Motion to accept the recommendation.
Second.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cohen, we're very excited to have you go into this position. You have an excellent resume, and you worked out at Greenbrier Elementary with Ms. Bridges. There could be no question that you're top of the league, so we're excited about that. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Welcome to the team at Columbia Middle.
And finally, I'd like to call forward our candidate for Grovetown Elementary School Assistant Principal, Ms. LaShanta Dodson. Ms. Dodson holds a Bachelor of Arts in Accounting and a Master's degree in Business Administration from Albany State University, an Educational Specialist in Educational Leadership from Augusta University. She holds certifications in middle grade Social Studies and English Language Arts, Secondary History, Business Administration, and is also gifted endorsed. Ms. Dodson began her teaching career at Murphy Middle School in 2016 as a 6th grade Social Studies teacher. In 2017, she transferred to Riverside Middle School, where she taught 7th grade Social Studies for 7 years and served as a mentor teacher. She completed the Columbia County School District Aspiring Leaders Academy in 2021. In 2024, Ms. Dodson accepted an assistant principal position at Jamestown Elementary School in Richmond County, where she currently serves, and she's looking to come back. Welcome back. Joining Ms. Dodson this evening, if y'all could stand, her husband Brandon and her daughters Brooke and Braille. Thank y'all for being here. Board members, I present to you our candidate for Grovetown Elementary School Assistant Principal, Ms. LaShanta Dodson.
I would like to make the motion to accept the recommendation because I know you can make the motion.
Second.
So, Ms. Dodson, excellent resume, background in business. Tell us, how does that translate into teaching?
I can keep a straight face if I vote.
That's a great answer. I won't put you on the spot anymore. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Welcome to the team at Grovetown Elementary. That's right, Grovetown Elementary, right? Great school. Congratulations.
No, she's married to two guys. I told her she's gonna be okay.
Congratulations. This time I'd like to ask our Associate Superintendent, Mr. Cummings, to come forward to help us in the next portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Flint. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening to share these special recognitions. To all of our students and advisors, please come forward when your name is called and remain until a photo is taken. Family members here to represent these students, who ask that you stand and be recognized as well when your student is called. We're excited to open our special recognition this evening with the Georgia Association of Educators State Spelling Bee runner-up. 12-year-old Sarah Dowd, a 7th grade student at Greenbrier Middle School, made us all proud by securing second place in the Georgia State Spelling Bee. Sarah showcased her talent by competing in an impressive 14 rounds, which included challenging vocabulary words, demonstrating her deep understanding of language and her commitment to excellence. She represented Georgia in the prestigious Scripps National Spelling Bee Championship in National Harbor, Maryland, and made it all the way to the semifinal round. Sarah has also been invited to the state capitol for a photo and a meet and greet with the governor, as well as First Lady later this month, in which she'll be accompanied by her family, a teacher of her choice, as well as her assistant principal and our very own Dr. Campbell. Sarah Dowd, please come forward. Let's give her a big round of applause. Congratulations, Sarah. Our next recognition this evening goes to the girls and boys track and field teams. The GHSA track and field meet is where you find strong athletes competing in their school classification with the hope of being labeled a state champion in their event. To qualify to compete, all athletes must first compete at the regional and sectional meets and finish in the top 4 at regionals and the top 8 at sectionals. There are 8 different regions consisting of 8 to 12 teams in each region, and each section has 4 different regions. To be able to qualify for the state meet is a very great accomplishment within itself, but competing at the state meet is a dream come true for our athletes. We're going to start today with Evans High School. Students, when I call your name, please come forward. Lydiana Beamer, state champion in 5A girls. State champion in 5A girls 1600 meter, as well as state runner-up in 5A girls 3200 meter. Also from Evans High School, Dorian Chance, state runner-up in 5A boys 400 meter. I'd also like to recognize our head coach, Mr. Ryan Bennett, and assistant coaches, Cheryl Flowers, up here. Barry Harmon, and Roy Wright. I'd like to also call up the principal, Mr. Wade White, to join us as well. Let's give them a big round of applause. From Greenbrier High School, Vicari Guyton, 3rd place in 5A boys high jump. Is that here? Mitchell Horton, 3rd place in 5A boys discus. Matthew Moore, state champion, 5A boys pole vault. And the relay team have state runner-up at 5A boys 4x800 meter, Jackson Musto. Nolan Parker. Garrett Remington. regular symptoms. This is just an overstay. Head coach Chris Cutler, you would come forward, please. All right, what about assistant coach Donnell Bradley? Head assistant coach Donnell Bradley. And we have some additional assistant coaches, Monica Kennington, Nikesha Hyden, Mark Jordan, Paul Moore, Wanda Reed, Melissa White, and George Whitmire. I'm sorry, that's Melissa White. You're too fast. And George Whitmire, Mr. Whitmire, also principal former, can come forward as well. Let's give him a big round of applause. Next from Grovetown High School, Madison Bristol Wesley, state runner-up, 6A girls 400 meter. Head coach Darren Short. And assistant coach Corey Fornard. That's right, Principal Young will be joining us as well. Let's give him a round of applause. From Lakeside High School, Alex Balance, state runner-up, 5A boys 1600 meter. Valencia Calhoun, state runner-up, 5A girls 300 meter hurdle, and state runner-up in 5A girls long jump. Head coach Randy Barnes for the boys, and Lindsay Wittenhauer for the girls. You guys are here okay? I think they're unable to attend. Also, I'd like to call out Assistant Principal Whitney Coster, who representing Ms. Keating today. Congratulations. For our last recognition this evening, we are pleased to announce the Lakeside High School girls tennis team made it to the final round of the GHSA 5A State Championship, and they are state runner-ups for the 2024-25 season. The state tennis competition was a whirlwind of adrenaline and determination for the team. Each match was a battle, and they fought hard to place in the finals. The girls rallied, strategized, and supported one another with unwavering loyalty. Players, as I call your name, please come forward. Emmy Bull. Ellie Clemente. Aricia Dua. Charlie Fair. Malia Griffiths. Hannah Leibel. Savannah Mills. Manasvi Patel. Saya Patel. Catherine Peterson. Lauren Smith. Natalie Stennis. And Connor Trammell. Head coach Patricia Lozano Nunez and assistant coach David Arrington. Dr. Cox will be joining us back as well. Congratulations to our Lakeside High School team. This concludes our special recognition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cummings. Wonderful time to honor our students who have excelled. Our board has a few comments we wish to share before we take a short break. This evening, I'll start on my far right with District 1 board member, Philip Kent.
Congratulations, Golden District. The athletes that we had regularly down during the summer, up and down pole vaulting. That's impressive, state champion. Is that right? How do you get into pole vaulting? Yeah. Well, you have a good friend, knows you well. Whoever you want to go now?
Miss Katie Allen to my left next.
Yeah, it's when I look on this sheet, it's an amazing mix of brains and brawn. I mean, we've got just academics all over the place and athleticism and professionalism. These four administrators were probably the best dressed, classiest, graceful women, I think, joining our team, and I think that sets a very strong example of leadership. And I just appreciate everything that y'all are bringing to the table and all the hard work that you're doing. So great job to students, great job to parents for being behind those students and pushing them to succeed and push themselves harder, and great job to the administrators who are coming back to go give back to the students and parents of this district. Thank you.
Ms. Allen. Ms. Judy Teason.
Thank you to all of you. It seems like the blessings never cease, and we're very grateful for that. Quick show of hands for all of you athletes who are not seniors. Okay, no pressure, but you two have a lot of work to do. We're looking for more state championships next year. To you seniors, congratulations out there, and best of luck next year wherever you may be headed for your next step in life. But we appreciate all that you did while you were here at Columbia County. And to our administrators, again, thank you. We're looking forward to great things. I think I heard in many of the bios that I heard a lot about curriculum, so I think there's a lot of strength there, and I'm looking forward to how that's going to benefit our students in the classroom across the district, and that's very encouraging. And to all of you, thank you, parents. We appreciate all that you do. We couldn't do it without you. And to the people here in the room, we definitely could not do it without you. So thank y'all very much. Mr. Wright, it is good to see you back. I had to say that, so I'm happy to see you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Again, to our priest, thank you for a wonderful blessing and invocation this evening. To our family members who came this evening, we just appreciate you sharing your students with us, and we appreciate all the support y'all give public education in our school district. Look forward to working with our new administrators who were approved this evening. I want to just recognize Commissioner Couch again and thank her for her service to our county. I want to recognize former Mayor Bobby Culpepper from Harlem for his service to Harlem, and it's good to see y'all. On behalf of the entire board, it's been a wonderful meeting. I wish I could end it right now, but now we have to make sausage. So, but we'll take a brief break and allow you to exit the room if you do not wish to stay for the sausage. All right, well, take your time. Your time is.
I'm sorry. I'll do the kitchen.
All right. We're back in session. This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of consent items 8A through G, please raise your right hand. Those are approved. Dr. Flynn, I think I'll turn it back over to you and let you run this meeting.
Well, thank you, board members, and that was a great time, and thank you for all your comments. We're really proud of a whole lot of people across this community. At this point in time, we are at the approval of consent items. If there's any individual item you'd like to take up,
we just approved it. You did, so I got ahead of you.
Got ahead of us. We're going to move on to electronic devices and House Bill 340 compliance. And I'm going to ask Ms. Jackson to come up, make your way over here while I just make some comments about this. We obviously have been learning a whole lot for the last couple of years about electronic devices, but what's not happening is the level of distraction going down in using that, and you can see that in all the devices that we carry. Probably a lot of changes from this point going forward. We don't anticipate this being the last time we're talking about this, but it is a step in the right direction. And I want to thank our principals for being here too. They have had a good bit of input in this. And as a matter of fact, we had a summit with our high school principals where this was part of the agenda, and I'm sure they'll talk to you about that. So this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Jackson, and we'll tell you a little bit more about where we're headed on electronic devices.
Good evening. As we mentioned in previous Code of Conduct presentation back in March, there are sometimes changes we have to make because of updates from the DOE, the state, or maybe changes in the law. With the passing of House Bill 340, the distraction-free education, and the CCSD network not being accessible to students next year, we are bringing you an update to the Code of Conduct for electronic devices. We added the verbiage to comply with the law and listed tablets as another example that we did not include earlier. We also added that electronic devices should be kept in their book bag or locker and not anywhere on the student's person. Ringers, alerts, and alarms should be turned in the off position. And we recognize that currently House Bill 340 pertains to K through 8 students, but the timing is right to expand this expectation to K through 12 students. We understand that there's going to be some challenges, but this is where we are at this time, as Dr. Flint mentioned. And as the title of this bill reads, we are ready to limit electronic device distractions within our schools. To help share thoughts from our high school principals, we have asked Mr. Chip Fuller, Greenbrier High School's principal, to speak on their behalf.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Good evening, board members. Fittingly, our 2024 yearbook was titled Connect Through the Disconnect. And Ms. Baldwin, our yearbook advisor, charged our yearbook staff to define authentic engagement throughout our building, without phone-to-phone, without tablets, without any kind of digital media. And when they snap those pictures, go and talk to the kids. And what are we talking about? How are things going? And just the quotes throughout the yearbook were so uplifting, just to hear the kids, what it means to talk to kids instead of texting kids and all those distractions throughout the day. Not being distracted in the classroom when you're trying to engage with the teacher. Even when it's on their person, they noted when things went off, whether we watch watches or their cell phone, they are thinking about who's trying to connect with them instead of whom they should be connecting with our instructors. So my colleagues and I just talked about that. When this bill passed, we said, you know, why can't we just roll it out K through 12 and just all be in this together? Before I was moved to the high school, we were just kicking the tires about this at the middle school level, planning, and now that that's come to fruition, we see the benefits of that. So really, our sophomores are okay with that, and our incoming freshmen have been without technology in the classroom. So we don't really see a big worrisome transition in that regard. I personally, I feel like we feel they need them more than they feel they need them more, if that makes sense. I think our high school students are ready to be without cell phones, and they may disagree with me on the surface level, but when you see kids really interacting with each other at lunch, in the hallways, gym, anywhere, that's what we want to get back to. This era is dominated by digital media, and the need for communication and authentic engagement for our teenagers is vital right now. Coping skills, the communication skills, we really see the decline on that. And high school principals, we're ready to take on that charge. Whether it be a challenge to start eliminating these things, we really feel like our kids will buy in and our communities will support that.
Mr. Floyd, tell us what you hear, like, from teachers about how, I mean, just some real life examples of the distractions that you hear from teachers.
Absolutely. There is times, obviously AI and things like that, we're going to have to adapt to. There is a information overload where it's easily accessed and where they don't have to put in the effort. In other words, we do see some discrepancies with cheating and things like that. We do see communication during watches when exams are going by that it's hard to catch. And it's not just necessarily just cheating or academic dishonesty. It's just distraction from parents reaching out to kids during the middle of the classroom. These kids, you think about it, our kindergartners are born into iPhone 16 or wherever we're at now. That's all they know. So if we can just pull that away, teachers are in 100% on that. They want that kid's full attention, and that's all they're asking for. It is a distraction, and whether it be pervasive or not, some teachers manage it better than others, but I think with support from administrators really locking down on that, I think it'll clean up pretty quickly.
And you spoke with other principals about this and have similar views. Are there other principals here?
I think most.
Anybody want to disagree with Mr. Fulton? Mr. White, you don't want to disagree with Mr. Fulton?
I agree.
The other day you were disagreeing.
That wasn't me. Have you had an instance, well, we never used to have them, I mean, have you ever had an instance in your experience in the last couple of years where, gosh, I wish we had cell phones right now?
You hear safety concerns, the immediate connection if something would go wrong, go amiss in the classroom. But with our systems in place now, we're really in deep in that. We have call-in systems, identification systems, cameras everywhere. It's just not the need. Back when bringing your technology to school was, we thought would be helpful and speed up instructional practice. There are times when you can log into your AP classrooms quicker and check things than getting the laptops out. But that no longer is a need for us. And that's just at Greenbrier, but I just speak on behalf of our colleagues. I think the distractions far outweigh the instructional practice that can take place if we just calm these things down.
My understanding of these is that they can become a distraction when you're trying to get instruction in times of emergency as well.
Sure. Exactly.
Under this policy as proposed, they don't have to leave them at home, but they just need to be in their book bag or their locker.
Yes, sir. We plan to communicate
Turn them
that.
off, put them in there, forget about it.
Correct. Yes, sir. We'll have signage up, past this point. They need to be, out, not out, open, or in use. They need to be in your book bag or some kind of carrying device where it's not on your person. Because, if we're talking as adults and I'm tech, you're just distracted. You're not thinking about this conversation. You're thinking about how do I respond to this person, once we have our signage up, communicate our freshman orientation or summer orientation, we're really going to hammer that home, through that and communicating back to our communities and stakeholders throughout the summer. I think they'll be, up to speed on that.
I just want to add, I think y'all have done an excellent job on this. I just want to point out a few things I really like about it. One is that I do think you've really struck a delicate balance, which is difficult to do, with the parents who want their child to have access for emergencies, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. There are parents that have peace of mind knowing their child has access to a cell phone at all times during the day. However, it also puts that level of responsibility where it is not going to be a distraction, and there's a consequence now if that phone does come out. So I think that I really like how you were able to capture both sides of the coin in a way that makes an effective policy of, like you said, them not being distracted. But what I really like about what y'all have done here is that you took a law and you went above and beyond the law in a way that makes sense and is best for our students. And I absolutely love that y'all did that, so thank you. My only challenge to you is the charge that it's enforced, because I know we have incidences that still come up at the younger levels where phones are out, and I think we just need to keep working towards that culture of buy-in where we're all on the same page. If we see it, there will be a consequence every time to create a culture that the students know this will be enforced.
We have talked about that as a group over and over, and making that culture, it's just like safety. It's a shared responsibility. So it's going to take our entire school community, parents, teachers, all of us making sure that we enforce it and provide those consequences when someone does not comply with it. But also, just a reminder, we're not getting rid of technology in schools. We're still going to have the computers for students to use while in the classroom. It'll just be through the school. And so I think that's important to remember as well. So I was also going to mention that we are going to send out communication K through 12 tomorrow. It will go out to all of our parents with a letter that has a little more description than what we've put as far as just talking about safety and that sort of thing. And just as a side note, I met with the SROs recently, and I told them that this was being proposed. And boy, I got, for the end of the year, the clapping and the hoorays for that, because from a school safety standpoint and what we're having to police, for the lack of a better word, the cell phone devices and the tablets, those are problematic for us. Even happening outside of school, coming into our building through those devices has been problematic. So, but we will be happy to answer any questions. And again, we recognize this will be ongoing, and we may have to make adjustments along the way based on how not just the feedback, but the enforcement, and what we might open our eyes to and say, whoa, we need to punt and rethink our game plan a little bit. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Does someone want to make a motion to adopt this update to the...
So I'll happily make the motion that we adopt the electronic devices policy as presented here tonight.
Can I just say one thing about the motion? This is a portion that's within the code of conduct, so we probably just need to say update this portion of code of conduct. The electronic portion.
Okay, so just updates the electronic portion of the code of conduct?
That's right.
Make a motion that we update this.
Electronic. Right.
Electronic code of conduct.
Second.
See that in this movie? Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, that is adopted.
Right out the application. Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you, board members. We're going to move on to something that is new. I don't think I need to remind any of you of the complicated nature of House Bill 581 and the challenges that put not only county but school boards across the state in. With that, there's also House Bill 92 that came along with that, and there's a lot of confusing language in here, and so we're going to try to make it as simple as possible. I guess in short, it's asked us to estimate a millage rate that would be set by the tax assessor here in a few weeks. And so we've done that, but it's also put some punitive language in there. And I'm going to ask in a few minutes Mr. Casado to come up, but let's go to the first slide and just kind of go through a little bit of the overview on this. The two bills, House Bill 581, introduced the estimated rollback for property tax assessments. And again, we spent a lot of time with that. I know we were challenged with that, and many members of the community were confused by that as well. House Bill 92 refined House Bill 581 by adding deadlines and fallback provisions. And now the estimated rollback rate is required. Now remember that we're going to get to the tax millage here in just a few weeks. But what the bill says is 15 days prior to that notification, we have to estimate it and make a plan for what we may do. Now, you don't have to follow that, but if you don't estimate it, it has some negative consequences that come out on the tax bills. So with all that said, I'm going to ask Mr. Casado to go through the specifics and to give us his best guess at that estimated rate so that we can go to the actual rollback rate when that happens. So, Mr. Casado, you ready?
Good evening. Okay, so the estimated rollback rate under prior law, okay, this was not really a concept at all. So previous to this year, House Bill 581 and House Bill 92, if you think back to any time you received a notice of assessment before millage rates were set by governing authorities, it automatically included that previous year's millage rate on that notice of assessment, NOA, and then an estimate of what your tax bill could be if those governmental entities kept the millage rate as it was. So in the laws, it established estimated rollback rate, which means the current year's estimated millage rate minus the millage equivalent of the total net assessed value added by reassessments, not new property, but reassessments. If the option is chosen, and we'll go through the couple of options that 92 created in a couple of slides, the levying or recommending authority must certify this rate by formal vote and provide the rate to the County Board of Assessors and Tax Commissioner no less than 15 days prior to the postmark date of the annual notice of assessments that go out to property owners. The estimated rollback rate is hard for us to determine without information from the tax assessor's office. We have received information from them, and what the value of the digest increase is due to reassessment versus growth of new properties in the county. So there are two options, and we'll go through those quickly. The first option is establishing the estimated rollback rate. If it is certified by the deadline, the 15-day deadline, each property owner's assessment will include the current year's value, value of exemptions, net taxable value after exemptions, and then the estimated rollback rate set by this board. But it won't there at the bottom, if you imagine your assessments, estimate what those taxes owed might be, right? It just gives you your new value of your home, any new or current exemptions you may have, and then whatever the estimated rollback rate is that you determine. Option 2 on the next slide is if you choose to do nothing, essentially, or if we're unable to certify an estimated rollback rate by the deadline. The notice of assessment will show the previous year's millage rate, provide that estimate of taxes owed at the bottom, like it has happened for many, many years. It'll look very similar to how notice of assessments have looked in the past. If you later set a millage rate, so that's important. Another part of this, though, is if you set a millage rate higher than that estimated rollback rate, then when the actual bill goes out, it'll have a disclaimer on it, and the law, in quotes, says the name of the governing authority that exceeded the estimated rollback rate, and that this will result in an increase of taxes owed. And so that's kind of the provision that would follow if you exercise option 2 instead of adopting an estimated rollback rate. Therefore, it may be best to set an estimated rollback rate that's higher than we think it actually might be, just a little bit higher, to avoid having this message added to property tax bills. I've seen several years where we'll get some numbers from the assessor's office or the tax commissioner's office, and then there's a slight change, right? Sometimes it changes up slightly, sometimes it changes down slightly. And so in my opinion, it's best to give us a little cushion here. So our recommendation is to set an estimated rollback rate of 16.5. We are currently at 17.1, as you know, and that's in anticipation of receiving final numbers from the assessors and tax commissioners, and then the legal requirements that we'll have to follow depending on what you want to do. If we do end up adopting, if you do end up adopting 16.5, it'll reduce property tax revenue by about 1.6 million from what we budgeted. And so thinking back to budget and the fund balance and all of that, about 1.6 million. But ultimately, you will be able to adopt any millage rate you choose when the time comes to set the actual millage rate here in July. Yes, sir?
As long as it's not more than the estimate.
It can be more than the estimated, but then that note gets put on the bill. It gets put on the property tax bill that the Board of Education raised your taxes over what was on your national notice of assessment.
Okay.
So-
The estimated goes on the notice of assessment.
Yes, sir.
That if we adopted something higher, then it reflects tax increase.
Yes.
Either way, we don't lose flexibility when we actually see the tax digest.
You do not lose flexibility. You set any millage rate you want up to the 20 mil cap, regardless of what estimated rollback rate you choose.
We can simply set the rollback rate.
Yes.
The actual rollback rate.
That's right.
That is calculated.
And so if you do adopt a millage rate, ultimately adopt an actual millage rate that's lower than the estimated rollback rate, then there's no message on the property tax bill that, like I described, would be there otherwise.
And I think kind of the purpose here is to go in that direction, and that was kind of y'all's directive to us, to try to set this in a place where we can estimate it, and then when we get that actual rollback rate, that you would be able to adopt that. And now that's up to you when we get to that point, but this gets us, so when the public sees this number, it's pretty close to what we really think that the actual rollback rate will be.
Well, that would, in my view, that would be ideal to be able to set the rollback rate. We haven't been in that position since I've been on the board. And that would just require basically us to reduce our fund balance by a minimum of 1.6 million, maybe a little bit more.
Right.
Which, we have a very healthy fund balance right now.
We do.
So, I think this would be I think it's a win-win to set an estimated rollback rate. And you feel good about 16.5? You think it's going to be pretty close to that actual?
I do think it'll be close. I believe it will be a little bit lower, not much lower. We have some, we have good numbers, but we want to be sure that we don't put ourselves in a position if something changes, and it has, to get that notice on the tax bill. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would love to avoid the notification and confusion in the public.
Yes.
For sure.
That's
If it's not where it needs to be initially, then, you think there could be a percent chance of change that could produce a notification. I don't, you're right. We don't want to.
We want to avoid it if we can.
It's confusing enough under the best of circumstances. But if we can estimate and be pretty close to it, and like I said, we don't lose flexibility, we can still adjust if we need to.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not locked in.
You're not locked in.
I love the fact that we actually, before the numbers come out, that we're able to estimate that and actually have a discussion about reducing our millage rate by another 0.6 of a mil. That's good news.
We've never been here before.
It's a good point, Mr. Chairman, because a lot of other school districts, the timing didn't quite work, and they had to just set what they had last year as an estimate. And we didn't, before we had any of the information, that would have had to have been the recommendation, because you're shooting blind and trying to make an estimate. So if you look across the state, there was a lot of school districts that didn't have a choice but to set it, and I guess our timing and our tax assessor was able to get us that information because we're getting pretty close to the 15 days, but we're still ahead of it, so
What do we need to do tonight?
you just need to approve this estimated, if this is what you agree with. We have a resolution that states this. Once you approve that, we'll send it to the county. They'll do the appropriate work, and then when the actual tax assessments come out, it won't have that other language on it. It'll have this, and then when it comes out lower as the estimate, if y'all approve the estimated rollback, then it'll actually go down from that point.
I have a few questions to jump in here. So, will this be recalculated every year, a new rollback millage rate, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it will be.
And then, just a point of comment, I don't really want to get in the realm of adopting a higher or lower rollback. I really want us to go through the intent of the law, which is what is the most likely millage rate. So if we have a high frame and a low frame, I would say we split the difference and find something in between. I think that would be kind of along the intent of the law. And I'm looking at last year's, and the rollback was 15.9 mils. So 16.5 is a little bit higher. What's about the fluctuation that we would expect year to year of a rollback? Do we know?
It's so hard to say because rollback, your actual rollback rate is determined based on reassessments of existing properties as a whole county, right? So somebody might get a 10% reassessment, somebody might get a 1% reassessment, somebody's assessment could go lower, but it's an aggregate, I guess average, if you will, mathematical equation that they go through to come back to the rollback rate. And that's why it was lower, I think you would see in previous years, because the digest reassessments had grown higher than they appeared to for this tax year coming up.
Okay, so when we get that annual rollback rate, that's going to be calculated based on kind of CFO analysis, and the county will have their CFO calculate theirs.
I wouldn't want to calculate it, but they calculate it.
Okay.
The assessment.
Just trying to trace where it would come from, because
Sure.
as a board member,
Yeah.
my instinct is to try to look into it and see if I can understand it, but it sounds like it's really a number that will be kind of generated for us annually.
The actual, not the estimated necessarily, but the actual rollback rate will be generated by the work the assessors have done to reassess properties. They give all that information to the tax commissioner's office, who then calculates the rollback rate and gives it to us.
And then what happens if that actual rollback rate is significantly different than our estimated rollback rate?
There's no penalty, so to say, unless you end up, let's say, adopting a millage rate higher than the estimated. Then when the bills go out, and a few months after that, that's when that clause will be added to property tax bills. But other than that, I don't know of any other penalty, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Okay, so as a board member annually, I would expect that at the right time, I will be told this is our estimated rollback rate.
Yes.
Okay, just
As
so
long as
I know it's not work that we would be able to do as board members, it would be something that our financial expert would provide to us.
Oh, they're making a recommendation,
Right.
proposal, and we're going to adopt it.
Okay, and then my final question that I'll bring up here, I don't really, I think it will be at millage rate time. I just want to point out that our budget that we approved has about a 3.6 million deficit. And if we're looking at another 1.6 million decrease in revenue, that makes a 5.2 million deficit. So I just want us to start thinking in advance of what we can do from an operations standpoint, because I like that we have a large fund balance, but I really don't like the idea of us using that fund balance for operations expenses. I want to get to the point that our revenues and expenditures are always evening out. And then when we reduce our balance, that maybe those are strictly one-time purchases or a stipend or of some sort for a teacher, things that are not something that are going to cause problems year to year as we consistently run a deficit and use that fund balance to cover it. So that's just where my intentions are of using fund balance versus matching revenues and expenditures, but that I think maybe would be something we can get into at military time. Those are my comments.
All right, well, does someone want to make a motion to adopt an estimated rollback rate of 16.50 mils for the coming year?
Yes, I'll make that motion that we adopt a Rollback rate of 16.5.
Estimated.
Estimated, yes, sir.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Approved. Thank you, Mr. Casado. Very good news.
All right, thank you again to our business department. Mr. Casado and his folks do a great job. We'll move on to the building program update. Just a note here, don't have a lot of pictures on this, but I wanted to let you know that we are going to be working on the paving projects. That's for Brookwood Elementary and for Starling Island Middle. Depending on the weather, those should be completed by July 1st, but as we've had a pretty rainy season here, and if that continues, it could be delayed a little bit, but we believe we'll have that done before the beginning of school. Moving on, North Columbia Elementary is coming along. As you can see, it's a pretty finished school. The interior designs are completing up right now. We're finishing out the flooring, and then we're doing some of the exterior site work and finishing that up. You'll see that we anticipate moving furniture in on July 7th. Then we finish, the project completion date is right now on July 15th. So it's coming up soon and things are on track right now. If we move on to Lakeside, you'll see a lot of those roofs are now getting tied in and tightened up. The Performing Arts Center on the left and the band rooms and the chorus rooms and the additional classrooms on the left side are looking good. We've walked through those the last couple of weeks. Kind of if you go to the back side of the school from there, in that wing, those are the classrooms that are being renovated right now. So a lot of the ceilings are coming out and we're removing all of the furniture and everything in anticipation of renovating each of those rooms. On the right side, at the very far right, you'll see the addition of those classrooms and some science labs in there. Those will be occupied this year, this coming school year. On the front of the school is the cafeteria and the expansion of the media center. And then on the back, you'll see where all of the portable classrooms were. There's only 4 left. Those will be being removed over the next couple of weeks. This will become the site of the new gym. So some pretty heavy site work will be going on in there. And then that building will start to, the footings and foundations will be set for that building over the next couple of weeks. These are just some pictures. You see the Performing Arts Center. That should be open in the next couple of months. This is kind of the side of the building that the administrators are going to be moving down towards. The front office and the counseling offices in the front of the building are going to be under renovation for the next couple of months during the semester. And so they're going to have temporary offices made up of some of the older classrooms in that area, and we'll have a new entrance. And we have the principal is working on communication she'll be sending out for the beginning of the school year. You can see the steel being erected here. The right side is where the kitchen's going to be, and the left side's where the cafeteria. And you'll see that higher raised area. That's where the new entrance to the school will ultimately be. But next year it'll be a little pushed down to the left side of that classroom wing. And this is just the back side where the gym will be going. You see where those stairs go down on the right-hand side? That's where the entrance to the gym will be. So we'll have plenty of parking on the back side and then an entrance kind of down at the bottom of those stairs. Moving on to Evans, very similar. So although it's a little bit backwards because on the right side here is where the gym's going in. And that's coming along. You can see all of the roof trusses are being installed and the ceiling decking is going in. And then on the left side, the Performing Arts Center and the band room and the chorus room is going in. That started a little bit after the gym. The entrance to the gym, if you drive by that now, you'll see the height of that just to the left of kind of that new work. That's about the height that you're going to see on the center of the school, as well as the Performing Arts Center on the left of the school. So those should tie in nicely. And then that area that was the median right in front of the middle of the front entrance, All the trees on the front have been taken down, and they're taking that down to a usable level. So that work will be ongoing for a while. On the back side of the gym, you'll see the classroom addition as well as the cafeteria and the kitchen on that back side. Let's look at some of the close-up pictures, and then we'll talk about what they're doing over this summer. You can see that's the gym. It'll have a little bit different look from the Lakeside gym. That track area that's kind of jutting out there will have a good many windows, and so it'll look pretty cool at night when you drive by. That'll be a nice look for the right side of the school. And then this is just kind of looking at the entire area and kind of the construction. We got construction going on pretty much everywhere. Is Mr. White in here still, or did he leave? No. He's got a lot of work going on out there, so a lot to keep up with, movement of teachers and students on that site. But they're doing a great job of that. And then this is the Performing Arts Center on the left side.
Where are those locker rooms? I know they're going to come up later, but since we're looking at...
Go back to the, that's a good question, go back to the site. So we're on the right, lower right-hand side here, this is the outfield of baseball, and so it'll be right behind home plate there. And we're also, obviously, you know, putting in the batting facility. That'll go in back there too. So I thought before we moved away from Evans, I would call on Ms. Jackson to come up. She's been working with our county athletic director and the principal on the athletics and a number of the administrative moves. Obviously, they're down here at the middle school right now. So I'll let her go through some of that, and if you have questions about that, we may have questions from parents as we get into the beginning of next year and even over this summer. So I thought it was a good time to let her go through some of those details. And thanks for all the work you're doing on this, Ms. Jackson. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. This is exciting stuff to report about. As we've mentioned, Evans High School, the front office staff has been moved to the middle school, and that's going very smoothly, and we appreciate Dr. Caraway and his staff for accommodating us as well. I'm going to go over just our athletic and band summer practice plan and games, and then move into the fall a little bit. But football and softball over the summer, these programs will continue in the Evans facilities. They have not had to move. They're using the turf field, the softball field, the weight room as scheduled. Football has moved its padded camp and 7-on-7 games to Lakeside High School. For the summer, softball is playing their league games. There's only about 4. They're playing them away at local stadiums within the district. Volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading, these programs will continue to use Evans Middle School throughout the summer. Volleyball has moved its summer jam to Grovetown High School to play, which will be July 15th through the 17th. And basketball is also playing their league games in Richmond County, away games, and they play 2 a week for the month of June. So cross country continues to use Blanchard Park and Patriots Park, which is pretty standard for them during the summer to use those areas for their practice. And then the band is alternating, or will alternate, between the side parking lot, or we call it the student parking lot now, the new student parking lot, and near the baseball field, and behind the stadium. They're going to find some room there. So as we adjust, they're, like flags, different parts of the band can practice back behind the school, and then the whole band can use that parking lot to the side of the school. And of course, they're going to use the turf field and alternate with other sports as they have been doing. So they've worked out a plan for that. In the fall, which will be here before we know it, football and flag football will continue on as normal this year. They'll play their regular scheduled games on the turf field. They also, the parking lots, the newly constructed parking lot to the side of the school, the student parking lot that we've talked about, we'll be able to park there. We can park behind the school. That back parking lot will be redone and look great. And then we have parking out front like we've always had. So the parking should not be an issue this coming season. We are happy to report that as of right now, we feel like we're going to be able to offer an entrance from the student parking lot like we once did, where you'll have to walk around and go through the school. You'll be able to go through a roadway that we're going to provide for the construction company, a safe passage right behind the baseball field to get to the turf field and have a ticket booth set up there so we can accommodate our patrons. But if something should fall through, or if we need to go ahead and add the front entrance again, open it up for our patrons to walk through, we will gladly do that. And then as always, we'll look for lighting issues due to construction and make sure that we have proper lighting up for before school when it starts getting dark. All of those necessary precautions we took last year will continue. Softball and volleyball will not miss a beat. They'll be able to utilize the gym just like they have been, and all the parking will be sufficient for that. The Performing Arts Center is actually tentatively scheduled to open up at the end of this calendar year, so they're thinking they'll be finished within around December. So we'll see. And then the gym and cafeteria area will be next summer before it's completed completely. So a lot of fun this summer of 2026. There's been some questions about future practice field because Evans, it's a tight squeeze there, and the tennis court space. In the original approved building plans, the tennis courts were going to be located where the current practice field is and the current construction laydown area. That's where the tennis courts were going to be on the plans. But then we acquired the land across the street. So there is the possibility and the desire to perhaps put the tennis courts across the street from the high school, and then that would open up that practice field in the back for more practice space for our schools to utilize, especially in the spring. That becomes very helpful for them to utilize. So just to kind of revisit some of our athletic upgrades at Evans, and some of this goes back even in previous East blocks that had been approved to make some of these renovations that because of COVID and other reasons we were not able to get to them, but just upgrading to like we're doing the baseball, the softball, dugout and locker rooms. Sound system on the field is something we're looking at. Bleacher upgrade and replacement. And again, this will be across the district at some point with our 10-year facility plan. But locker room, and the current weight room that's down on the turf field right now to the left where the band concession stand is, having that redone. And then the baseball field grading, that's an area that the crown on that baseball field is pretty high comparatively. So we're going to have that and take a look at that as well. And then the practice field renovation, when we get that practice field back, whatever size it may be, it's probably going to need a little work because before we started the construction, we had some holes and some variations in the turf. So we'll have to make sure we get that up to par so that our kids will have a safe place to practice. So a lot to look forward to, and eager to, we'll finish Lakeside next summer and then roll into finishing Evans, so time flies.
With all these, this list, was that all Evans High School that you were referring to with the locker rooms? And
Currently, yes ma'am, because we're on that athletic facility.
And for moving the tennis courts across the street, is that going to be an additional cost because it modifies the original plan?
I would think so, yes.
Do we know what additional cost that will be?
We didn't have to.
Okay, and will that come out of the 2017 SLOSS or the 2022 SLOSS?
It would come out of the program, but we've left something there for athletics, back to what Ms. Jackson was saying. We have a number of upgrades for athletic facilities, getting them all up to a standard. Once in the Evans room, we weren't able to put into that design because we didn't have the land yet, so we kind of left that out. As we do Harlem, we already have the land, so we should be able to, and that's what we're working with the current design team now, to be able to put it in that scope of work. But obviously we weren't able to do that because we didn't have the land yet. We were working on it, but we didn't know we were actually going to get it.
Okay, and will that be the Evans High School addition renovation budget or a different budget?
I'll let Alex.
Yes, I would add it to that Evans, let's say we do that, I would add that to the Evans High School budget, analyze where it sits at that time, see if there's any room within what's currently there, and if not, add a little bit or whatever's needed to make that happen
Okay,
at that time.
so it's not currently in the SPOS budget because it came up because of the land, is that correct?
There's room within those funds to add some additional projects. I know athletics has been, as Ms. Jackson said, one of those things for a while now. And so that's a decision, that's gonna have to be made, but there is still room left. In the current SLOSS cycles we have funding for, and then we got the next one renewed as well, and so yeah.
Okay, and then it's kind of the same question for the locker rooms, the baseball field, and the practice field. Are those all kind of built, are there cushions built into the SPOS to cover those things as well, or is it additional?
Yes, ma'am, there's enough to allocate for that project as well. Not necessarily like regrading the baseball field, right? That's another decision that's gonna have to be made. Although we probably could do that within the current cycles that we're in right now. But the batting cage that was approved, the locker room, that's in question tonight, we certainly have enough room to do those with the current SLOSS cycles that we have. Yes.
Final question, it seems that none of these are in that CMR contract for the school, correct? These are all additional projects that came on later based on needs, sounds like?
Which,
So for the locker rooms and the baseball field, for example, are those, like for the locker room, that wasn't part of building the high school, correct?
No, but they were identified years ago, but they weren't able to be put in the plan because we didn't have the land. So that decision, it would have been problematic to ask them to estimate or design something when we weren't really sure what all we were going to put into it. So that's,
Lakeside High was our standard back in previous years when we joined with the county and put the new facility, the athletic facility, the baseball field, softball field, track complex. And so that was the start of this project. And then East Lost passed, and then things happened, and so we're revisiting some of those areas.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I'm just trying to map it out in my mind, what budgets cover which projects, so thank you.
Which road do you have to cross to get to the potential tennis complex?
Pardon?
Ox Road? So is there any unintended things with crossing that road, being as busy as it is? Is there any cost?
We've talked about that. We will have to work with the sheriff's department and look at, like even we've talked about what Grovetown has, the crosswalk that lights up, that you push, that stops traffic, and certainly they'll work with us in that area because it's been problematic for the county as well for quite a while.
But we're not talking about like a walking bridge or those kind of expenses or anything like that at this point, right?
Not at this time. We haven't had that discussion.
Do you envision parking along with the tennis courts?
not much there. They even use the current parking.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jackson.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jackson, for all your work on that. Obviously, a lot of moving parts with the high schools and things that are happening. So looking forward to a lot of work going on the next couple of years. So. Okay, moving on to the bid results. On April 20th, we solicited sealed competitive bids for Evans High School press box and locker room. We solicited bids for more than 15 vendors and posted the request on the CCSD website and the Georgia Procurement Registry website. Bids were received from the companies that are listed before you prior to bid closing. We recommend awarding the contract to Summers Construction Company, LLC, in the amount of $605,300.
Move to accept the bid recommendation. Any discussion?
Just one more time clarifying, this is in the Evans High School additional renovation, 2017 to 2022 SLOSS budget, or this for the 22 to 27 SLOSS budget?
I would add it to the 22-27 budget for Evans High School for the project as a whole.
Okay.
Caesar is wondering, is this associated with damage from a hurricane, and is any insurance involved?
There was a little bit of damage, but it's pretty negligible, the amount that the insurance gave us for it.
All right, If there are no further questions, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. As approved, Dr. Flynn.
On May 6th, the purchasing department solicited sealed competitive proposals for project management services and were posted on the Columbia County School District website, Georgia Procurement Registry website. Purpose of the proposal was to award a contract for providing project management services associated with Lakeside, Evans, Greenbrier, Grovetown, and Harlan High School construction projects, similar to what we've had the past number of years. Proposals were scored based on specific criteria as well as pricing. We received bids from 8 vendors that are listed before you, and based on the proposed results, we recommend you award the contract to the low bidder, Turner Townsend Heery. Unless you have any questions, we're recommending you award the contract to Turner Townsend Heery as the low bidder for the percentage fee of 0.6294%.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation. All right, any discussion?
So this percentage, is that based off of the CMR amount, the 103.2 million?
How's that listed in the contract?
Yes, it would be off of the CMAR contract that's ultimately approved for those projects. So it'd be a percentage.
Is it
These percentages.
each project? I guess I'm trying to get a ballpark. They're definitely significantly lower, and I'm glad we're happy with them. So what ballpark amount does that come to roughly? 5 million, 1 million?
It's hard to say because we don't yet know for certain, like take certainly Greenbrier and Grovetown, we don't have those bids, yet. I don't know, we haven't even started down.
I think you could take Evans, for example, if that's the 80, if that one was under the 80 million or 81 million, then that 0.6% of that.
Yeah, so for every $10 million, that's right, it'd be 63,000 would be their fee. So for an $80 million project, 63 times.
Calculator in front of me, I was actually looking.
Let's do 150 grand.
Like 250 grand, yeah. 100 million, just move the decimal place, so you're talking 630,000 for a $100 million
That'd be a
project.
good example.
Okay, and that would be for the Evans, for Harlan High School, so they would get that per project.
It's very similar to the other fees that are in there, so architectural fees and the other areas are on percentage basis. This is actually one of the smallest that we see.
I think the better way to ask that is how much do we budget for this item?
Yeah,
Where in the budget is it?
It becomes part of the fee package with the architect and the engineer when approved. And so again, a $100 million project, your budget at this rate would be in the 620,000-30,000 mark.
And you would budget for that within the project based on this, as well as the other fee-related items that we have to do with building projects?
Yes.
And maybe you can explain, I think the biggest point when I see this is, I guess I don't fully understand why we pay a project management service when we already have a CMR that manages the entire construction project for kind of a flat rate. It almost seems like it's, I would assume that they have the project managers and they're getting it done and we're getting these schools built and it's clearly working. So I'm just curious why we bring in another level of project manager at that cost.
Well, it's not another level, it is our project manager, and they also maintain that full comprehensive building program and estimate any of those changes. They also work between the contractors and the school district to make sure things are on track and on time. And if there is any discrepancy there, they come back to us and then they work through that with them to make sure we get them back on track, or then I come to you if there's any challenges. So no, it's a pretty important job for any CMAR. If you miss that, you're going to have some challenges.
If we didn't have this, would, say, J.E. Dunn Construction, would they then coordinate with us and give us their project management documents and say, hey, here's where...
If we ask them to do the project management, they would.
Okay, so is the project management not included in the CMR?
Oh, probably if we had, and again, this is hypothetical, but when we get that GMP from them, and Alex, I don't want to even estimate, but that negotiation could have easily been millions higher because we didn't have a project manager working between the architect, the contractors, and then all of the other entities to help make that happen. So they were a big part of that as well.
My question is, being that it's a third party, is it important without having, eliminates that conflict of interest? Is that, I would think there's some importance to that, some value to that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, we try to, with all of our projects, we'll say that three-legged stool, if you have two, it's going to fall over pretty easy. When we talk about finances, we have our fiduciary, our advisor that works with bonds. That's a good example. Project management on the other side is something that's best practice, especially when you're doing some very large CMAR projects like this. So we get very good information from all three. These are all very good companies, but you also need to have each one of these to kind of work to get all of the best information you can. One, to get good pricing, but two, to get the best quality design and project build that we can have out of this. So,
Did you say it would be more, it's a cost saving measure also potentially?
well, I see it that it'd be hard to estimate, but Mr. Sala, you kind of work with these also, and even in these, we've seen pretty big savings using project management from where it could have been.
Give maybe some examples of how having someone like this has caught something and said, you're in the wrong path here, it became worth the investment?
You may know better than I, but I will say too that it is definitely hard to know like what the difference would have been, right? Because we can't go down that road of reality to determine it. But I agree with you, Mr. Kent, that if your CMARs will do project management services, your fee will be higher, but they're then managing all of that within the same umbrella. And so I think having the third party outside of the architect, outside of the general contractor, does add a certain level of oversight, protection, if you will, and I certainly hope cost savings that come along with that service.
And they sent a proposal, do they say this is what we could potentially save you, or this is what we're protecting you from?
They do say those types of things, but what sometimes they'll do is they'll give you examples of, let's say, a project that started to look like it was going to go over budget, and then they were able to value engineer some changes that helps keep that project on budget or even bring the project below budget. And so when you look through some of these proposals, and I look through these ones in particular, you'll see sometimes examples of that. But it's just like we can't predict it, it's hard for them to predict it, but they can give us actual examples of previous projects where they claim that they've helped in those ways.
How many years have we used these for building schools, project management services?
3 or 4.
Yeah, these projects are done a little bit different than the new build projects. These are pretty large, so the school district hasn't ever done a CMAR prior to these, but they've also never had a building project this large. I mean, these are very, very complicated. You could get into some pretty dicey situations if you didn't have the right advisors on these, using the right contracts, using the right requirements, and so each of these kind of pieces to the puzzle helps us be kind of good stewards of the taxpayer dollar. If we left one of these out, it would be, in my opinion, a mistake.
And from my point of view, the last 3 or 4 years that we have been using one, they really keep us on a time, and they hold the construction company's feet to the fire with being able to not be on the outside, but they see the big picture. And so they're constantly trying to navigate the time frame, what the school needs are, but as well making sure that the construction company is doing what they're supposed to be doing when they said they were going to do it. And they have that opportunity to focus on just that. So it's been very helpful from our perspective, being able to keep everything moving as it should. And when it's not, being able to address them immediately and get them back on track.
I would love to see how that would equate to dollars and when we do this in the future. It'd just be really helpful to me. That sounds great.
I had a question along those lines too. In the last 3 to 4 years of the CMAR project management method compared to, say, the last 10 years of building schools, are we seeing, per square footage adjusted for inflation, what that looks like in cost savings? Are we completing projects under budget ahead of time that we've noticed in the last 3 years, or maybe it's just too soon to tell?
On these, they're very comparable on square footage. As far as when you get your GMP, now we haven't finished one of these CMARs, but we're not expecting on going over the GMP for any of these projects. So I think, it'll be within that reasonable area that that they've given us in anticipation of building the entire project.
Thank you.
This has been very informative. I appreciate that. Do you have any more bids?
We hadn't voted on this one yet.
Oh, we haven't?
No.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we, how long we have?
We just, I don't think we got the.
All right, another question. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Any opposed? All right, 3-1.
Okay, moving on to all of our addendum amendments. You'll know this is how we allocate state dollars for building projects. Several pricing addendums are required at the state level now. We have them for Lakeside High School, Evans High School, Harlem High School, and Uchi Creek Elementary. That's where we're doing the HVAC project. These are required as part of the process to receive state capital outlay funds. So at this time, we recommend approval of each of those amendments as presented.
All right. So I'll make a motion that we approve the amendments to the mandatory addendum for Uchi Creek Elementary, Evans High School, and Lakeside High School as presented by the superintendent.
Second.
Did you get Harlem in there?
Zero.
Okay. I just listed all of them together, but you can do that one separate if you want. That's fine.
I didn't see Harlem. Okay, well, let's include Harlem in the motion, okay?
It's D on the agenda.
Okay, have we already approved C?
No, I put C, I just put C and D together for that approval.
Okay, all right, now,
That's all, yeah.
all right, well, let me restate my motion. I move to approve the recommendation for the amendments to the mandatory addendum for Uchi Creek Elementary, Evans High School, Lakeside High School, and Harlem High School. Did I get it all?
That's it, thank you.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Just a quick point of explanation. This is the first time I've seen these. What's the difference between required local funds and additional required local funds?
In order for you to receive capital outlay dollars from the state, you have to assert or certify that you're going to put a certain amount of local money into that project. They don't fund them 100% ever. And so really that's what their percentage threshold, which I don't know off the top of my head, I can back into it, but that they are telling us we must put towards that project in order to receive the funding.
Okay, and the additional required is just the difference between the total minus the required local. It's not a matter of what pool of money it comes from,
No.
it's just
their
okay.
formula.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If there are no further questions, all in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. That's approved.
All right, that gets to all of the bid projects, or bid results that we're looking for. Moving on to superintendent reports. The annual Rookie of the Year celebration took place on May 14th at the Sport Department Complex. The event recognizes first-year teachers and their successful completion of the first year of the new teacher induction program, which is a very good program. Thanks for all of y'all that are involved in that, and Mr. Wright for helping to lead that. Our 5 of our students, 1 from each high school, were also in attendance to receive their $1,000 scholarship provided by Georgia's own credit union. North Harlem Elementary School teacher Carrie Tiedemann was named this year's Rookie of the Year. So congratulations to all of our first-year educators, our future educators, as well as all of our educator mentors that were involved in that. It was a great event. As you know, we held successful graduation ceremonies with over 2,000 students who received their diploma. Thank you to all of our board members for being there, as well as all of the other staff and volunteers that made those events possible for our community. I think the families really enjoyed that. And it's a busy couple of days, and you shake a whole lot of hands, but it's a great time and one of my favorite times of the year. Next year's dates are listed before you. As you know, we haven't made any changes to these other than the rotation that we've been in now for a couple of years. And so Lakeside was last, so now they become first, and so on and so forth as we move through that rotation. Summer school is currently underway at Grovetown High School, and it's going really well. Just a reminder that summer school graduation is scheduled for Thursday, June 26th at 5 p.m. And this year, we're excited because we're able to move this to the Columbia County Performing Arts Center. So it should be a really nice event, and we really appreciate the county letting us use that. A new student registration continues, and on June 16th, online registration will open for all of our returning students. This process is required annually for students who were enrolled last school year and who are also planning to return this next school year. Our student information team is available by appointment for parents who need assistance with completing the online registration during the summer months. I will say it's relatively easy to do, though, and every year we get a little bit better at that. The rest of the information are dates and times of events, as you can see on the agenda. So at this time, board members, that completes my portion of the meeting. If you have any questions, please let me know.
At this time, we have public participation. This evening, we have two speakers who've submitted public participation requests. Each speaker is allowed up to 3 minutes to address the board. Stated in Board Policy BCD-I, we ask that you provide your written comments while refraining from any derogatory remarks. We also ask that our audience show proper decorum by listening respectfully and avoiding actions or comments that may distract from the speaker's time and remarks. This evening, our first speaker will be Ms. Jessica Fisher.
Good evening, Board. As everybody's always looking to save a dollar in this district, I have a solution. The employee back-to-school kickoff. Teachers do not want this. They would rather spend the time in their classrooms prepping for their incoming students. Did you know that most of them do not get their student roster until the day before? How much money are we wasting on having a public speaker and renting up the pack? You are wasting 3 to 4 hours of their day, and let's not forget their drive time. As someone told me, I'd rather stick a fork in my eyeball and slide naked down 100 grit sandpaper than attend another one of these kumbaya BS marathons. Since everything is about money, look at the cost savings if we stop this nonsense. Maybe if we stop this nonsense, teachers and staff could actually read the data of their students. Who is behind? Who is ahead? Who is right where they need to be? Oh wait, I have 10 kids on IEPs and 504s. Let me have time to actually read them and understand how they are supposed to be implemented, instead of passively violating the laws in the four corners of the document. Then again, this district is already in violation of the definition of what an IEP even means, according to Georgia Department of Education. Maybe if we actually gave the teachers their time, my daughter wouldn't have failed her math GMATs. Oh sure, she gave the district what they wanted on reading and writing. She even scored perfectly on the narrative writing. It's almost comical that everybody knew she was going to fail the math portion. It wasn't a secret, yet no one did nothing. Not one word. You want to know what she got? Instead, as punishment for her math scores, it was decided that her and a few underperforming students should get thrown into a 5th grade math class while the other students celebrated. They can't even do 4th grade math, but let's throw them higher. Maybe they should have went to 2nd grade instead. Now I watch and wait and see, since all her data says she needs additional academic support in math. What district does? Does she now qualify under MTSS? We hear district talk all the time about it, but yet I've never heard or even seen what a student qualifies. Is it the low 10%, 20%, 30%? Do we even know? If we can't even help the normal average student like my kid, how do we expect to close the gap with kids with disabilities? In closing, I would like to ask, is there any way to do an actual survey of what the teachers want? What don't they want? How is the administration of their school? And I request, if you can, it be paper, not digital, since they do not need to be tracked. May I remind you, about a year ago, someone requested a survey about football start times. Within the next month, you had that survey out for those parents and teachers. Thank you.
Next participant is Ms. Janet Duggan.
Good evening. One, I'd like to thank the board for today's discussion regarding the millage rate rollback, the motivation. Specifically, Mr. Kent, you initiated that conversation some time ago, and there's been discussion, so I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for that. I did want to share, I guess, my understanding of that, of what was shared tonight, and I know you can't answer me, but if I made a mistake or something, I appreciate some feedback, Mr. Exato. So if I understood correctly, that when you do the estimated rollback, let's just say 16.5 like you're doing, and if the actual rollback is the exact same as 16.5, let's just say we hit it spot on, then, and you roll back to 16.5, like you do all three, estimated, actual, and then the board votes on that, then we would not receive any type of notification regarding a tax increase, because there was no tax increase, because everything was equivalent. So that's how I understood what was to be said. I guess my thought is then, let's just say it comes in at 16.0 as the actual, and the board approves 16.4. Then my understanding is that in that case, there would be no notification of a tax increase, but there would be a minimal tax increase because the actual was at 16.0, and vice versa. If you adopted, something at, 16.6, and it came in, at a higher, the inverse would be true. So I'm just pointing out that if I understand it correctly, estimating it a little bit higher does save the board or the district from having to have that notification go out, but there could be a small wiggle room of millage rate approval that could actually still be a tax increase, yet not. So that's kind of my question and statement that how I understand it.
I don't know that that's correct. Go ahead and
yeah,
you
so,
can figure out what you can ask those questions anytime.
Yeah, so that's, I'm just kind of bringing that out. I don't expect you to address it today.
But I don't want the audience to assume that you're...
Well, I just would like that to be clarified as you present, so that we can all be on the same page as far as what that tax notification actual versus the estimate when the time comes. And then lastly, as far as electronic devices, I do think that that is a great thing, and I appreciate the district doing that. I think that's super. I do have a concern as far as when you have a rule, being able to enforce it, and I find it'll be interesting to see how the bus situation that can be enforced. I think that there's challenges in the buses already. I think the bus drivers do a super job, and I just would hate to see that become a rule and then it not be able to be enforced. So I'm curious how that will come about, but I want to just share that I completely support moving in that direction, and especially going above and beyond what the law states. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Duggan. That concludes our public participation.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we... Motion, excuse me, motion. that we retire to executive session to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this time we're going to go into executive session. Board members, just remind you, we have electronic.
No. Make the motion that the chairman be directed to execute an affidavit in accordance with the state law affirming that no subject was discussed during the executive session that violated the open meetings law of the state of Georgia.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, I will sign the affidavit, thank you.
Make a motion that the personnel sheet as discussed in executive session be approved.
Second.
All in favor of approval of the personnel sheet, please raise your right hand. Personnel sheet is approved.
And I would like to make a motion that we approve the real estate matters as discussed in executive session.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. That's approved. Anything further?
Yes, sir. I'd like to, for the record, note that we have, as a board, completed all the required training according to the state and the Georgia School Board's conference this past week, and then some, actually.
You like that spread across the minutes?
Yes, sir. We would, I think, don't we? Does that require a motion? Just needs to be part of the minutes, is that right? So noted.
Anything else? Seeing none, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand.
Are we going to do this without hearing Mr. Wright say something?
We're adjourned, and Ms. Baker will take some business.
I got something. I'm pretty sure that's on YouTube.